So, ich habe ihn gestartet. So, wir müssen.
So, welcome everybody to a special digital live Q&A. My name is Frank Joung, or in German Frank Joung, or in Korean is Chong Yu Jin, just to confuse you right from the get-go. And I'm very happy and excited to do this Minari live Q&A. And we have a special guest tonight. I know you you know who it is. And but beforehand, I would like to introduce you to my colleague Lena Kettner from Kino. She will receive all your text message and WhatsApp messages and your questions, and I will ask them to Isaac. So now the big moment for our guest. I would like to give you just a little bit of information beforehand. He's a writer and the director of Minari, of course, the film you just watched. And I would like to give him a warm applause. So everybody raise your hands to the director of Minari, Lee Isaac Chung.
All right, thank you, Frank.
What an entrance.
I wanted to come from the side and slide in, but yeah, I'm not as flexible as I want to be.
Where was the spotlight? So Isaac, welcome to the Q&A. Great to have you here. You're in LA, right?
I am, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so it's like, what is it, 1 o'clock?
It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon here, very sunny, very warm, hot even.
Even hot.
Yeah, but I wish I were there. I wish I could be in Germany. It's one of my, I've been to Berlin before for the film festival, and it's a great place to show movies. Yeah, just thank you everybody for coming out to this.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy man. Yeah, we're here to talk about your movie, your film that you wrote and directed, and also promoted for the last couple of months, I guess, intensely.
It was like 18 months, I think.
Wow, yeah, what a ride.
Yeah.
So we have some questions for you from the audience, but also I have a ton of questions, of course, for this movie. I mean, let's get back to the beginnings before we talk about the movie. Were there a specific moment where you thought, okay, I have to write a screenplay about myself, about my family?
I don't think there was a specific moment, like a singular moment. A lot of things were leading up to this, but there were certainly things that happened around the spring of 2018 when I started to write this script. One was I was very much inspired by an American writer named Willa Cather, who she wrote about growing up in Nebraska on a farm, and I was learning a lot about her, and that really inspired me to think about my own story growing up in Arkansas. And also I was about to start teaching in Korea. And I had a few months to write a script, and I thought, I think this might be my last chance to do this before I turn to teaching full time. I thought once I start teaching, I don't know if I'll be able to make any movies. So because I was doing that career change, that made me think I need to do something that I have inside of me that I would regret if I never did. And that to me was to be as personal as possible and tell a family story. And then finally, my daughter was turning the age that I was when I moved to the farm in Arkansas. And I had turned the age that my father was when he moved us there. And there was something about that coincidence. I thought I could see the world through my daughter's eyes and my father's eyes at the same time somehow. and through my own self of feeling certain regrets about my life and my career and my desire to try something new. So it all came together that spring, and I wrote a script. For maybe it took me about 6 months to write this script. And then I went to teach. I had the script in my folder on a computer, and I let a friend of mine who's an agent read it, and she's the one who really got the ball moving on this project. And the rest is history. We made the film in 2019, so 1 year later, and then we premiered it at Sundance in less than a year after that at 2020. So the rapid change of my life and the film and everything was just really intense. So we raced back from Korea, where I was teaching, to come back and make the movie. And then I've been promoting it for the past year and a half because of COVID. So it's just been crazy, all the different changes we've been going through.
All right. Let's go back to the process of writing. How did you start, and was it hard for you to write the script?
Well, so for the process, one thing I read about Willa Cather is that she said that her own creative work began when she began to remember, and she stopped admiring. So she was always trying to do what other writers had done who she really loved, like Henry James, Edith Wharton. But she decided instead, I'm just going to remember back to my own life and forget about all the other writers. And I thought I've done that too with filmmakers. I've admired many filmmakers and tried to copy them. But this time I thought, I'm just going to sit down and write down as many memories as possible from my age when I was like 6 years old to 8 years old. And I had this long list of memories. It was maybe like 80 memories that I typed onto my computer. And I just started to see that there's a story there. I remembered when we moved to the trailer home in Arkansas that my mom was really upset because my dad did not tell her that we were going to do this. And I remember that there was a tornado that came maybe 2 weeks later. And
great
my
timing.
mom is just increasingly, she's increasingly getting depressed. And then the fire is actually something that happened on our farm. Ultimately, my grandmother actually did create a fire. So I saw this arc for this story that could be told. And you asked if it was difficult. That it was very difficult because I thought, do I stay true to what actually happened, or do I take this and make it fiction? And from the beginning, I decided I need to make this fiction. Otherwise, I'm going to make my parents really angry. I was worried about that. So I changed the names of the characters, and I just decided to go with it and make all of them very fictional. But of course, at the heart of it, there's something very true and lived in and from memory.
Do you remember what you wrote down first? The first memory?
I think the first memory was that when we got to the trailer home, there were no stairs. So that was the first. And the last memory I wrote was about the minari that my grandmother and I would go and pick.
Okay.
Honestly, when I had that memory, I wrote it down. That's when I stopped the process, because I thought, oh, that's the name of the film. And that's kind of, yeah.
Because someone from the audience was asking, how did you come up with Minari as a metaphor for this movie? But that's the answer right there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I had a Minari song that I sang as a kid as well. So
would you like to sing it for?
No, not at all.
So I mean, so you wrote down the script. You thought, hey, maybe this is good for me. This is good for my daughter, and you gave it to a friend. You said, did you think, hey, this might be working? I have a good feeling. Did you have any feelings about it?
Well, there were a lot of moments that I just loved. I wasn't writing it for money, I was writing it what you call on spec, where you're just writing it to write. And there are many times that I was loving it. I would love what I'm writing. I love the characters. I love Paul, just random things. And then there are times that I just thought, this is stupid. This is never going to work. And I was very cynical about that too. My wife, I drive her crazy with this stuff. But after I had written it, I thought this is maybe the best thing I've ever written. At least I knew that. But I sent it to some friends, and my friend, nobody read it. Nobody was reading it. One of my friends read like the first 20 pages and told me, I think you need to do some more research. And then, so I was like, this is my own life. I don't know how to, but it was really Christina Chow, my friend at CAA. Once she read it and she said, I think we can get this made. I love the script. I want to help you. That was when I suddenly realized, oh, maybe I do have something here. Because I was feeling really down about it. And then Ina Lee, who is our mutual friend, a German Korean, she also read it pretty early on after Christina did. And another friend of mine, Doug Sok, who is a producing partner of mine, read it around then. And they were incredible cheerleaders. And, they're both Korean from the diaspora of overseas Koreans. And I think the issue was that the friends who I sent it to, they weren't Korean. Maybe they didn't. Yeah. I think there was something about that's necessary. But these two friends really cheered me on, and Ina Lee introduced me to Yoon Ya-jung, the actress, for instance, and Han Ye-ri while I was in Korea, and had them read the script, and that's how they came on board. So in the end, friends came through for me, and I needed that though, because I wasn't sure if this script was any good for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you said it before. It was very quick. Everything went very quickly. And when was the first time you thought, "Hey, this might be working. This is actually happening"? And what did you tell your students?
So in the spring is when spring semester. So the new semester started in January. My first semester in the fall, I was a great professor. Man, I was so prepared. I was doing all the lectures. I was, showing up on time. Second semester, it just all went bad because I was so busy with this film and realizing that it might get made. Steven Yeun came on board in January, and Plan B came on board, and that was huge. Brad Pitt's company. So once they were on board, I thought, this is really different. This might actually happen. But something happened in April. We didn't have a financier completely on board yet. So A24 wasn't completely on board yet. And my producer, Christina Oh at Plan B, told me, if we don't have a green light from A24 by like April 13th or some date like that, she said, this film, we probably can't make it this year. And then Steven Yeun told me, if we don't make this film this year, I don't think I can make this for the next 5 years. So then I knew that meant he's gone. If we don't do it, he's going to be gone. So I was kind of panicked about it. And then that date came, the deadline date, and no word, nothing, A24, nothing, silence. So honestly, like I just said, I'm going to take a break because I had been so busy getting all the lookbooks and storyboards and all those things ready to show A24. I spent some time with my wife and daughter, and suddenly I felt this deep peace because I felt so thankful that I had my wife and daughter. And I felt like I don't need to make this movie. And I just started to kind of weep about that while I was there with them, because I realized how much I had changed as a person. Like I no longer have to be a filmmaker, this dream, it's okay. What matters is this family of mine. And somehow I needed to go through that. A week later, I found out that we got it. We so I still marvel at that moment, and I feel like I needed that moment for myself. I needed it also for the movie, because that's one of the themes of the movie that the father needs to realize. And I felt deeply at peace throughout everything that followed because of that, because I knew if it goes away, I'm okay. If the barn burns, I'm gonna be okay. That's kind of how I felt.
I somehow feel that you represented that in all these award shows and all the interviews, I kind of felt that you were at peace at just making the movie, or beforehand just writing the script, because I don't know, you felt so. I was feeling that you were so at peace with yourself, and not, you know, in the spotlight and the awards and everything. That's nice, but I felt that somehow you were grateful just to go through your own journey beforehand.
I appreciate that, and really it is like I do feel a debt of gratitude to my wife and to my daughter and to a lot of the things that I'm blessed with in life. And, yeah, but honestly, during that run, I am quite nervous and neurotic, so I was hiding a lot of the, you know, does my hair look okay and all that stupid stuff that we go through.
So you had your script, but how did you come up with the visual references of the movie? Did you have any inspiration for the look of it?
I had a few different thoughts about it. Like Lachlan Milne and I, we talked a lot about mixing the idea of an epic Western with like a more like Asian domestic drama, like Ozu and Koreeda. So we kind of had a mix that outside on the farm, on the land, we want like a John Ford kind of feeling. And then in the inside of the trailer home, we have more of an Ozu type of feeling. So that was a thought that we had. And there's a recent movie called Force Majeure that we quite liked in its tone. And so that was another film that we would often talk about and reference as well.
And what about the score, the music? When did this come in place? And why didn't you choose like a Korean ethnic, you know, world music kind of sound?
Yeah.
Fortunately, you didn't, but I mean,
Yeah.
it was so obvious. So why didn't you do this?
Yeah, honestly, that was the first note that I gave to Emile Mosseri when I met him. I said, please don't try to do anything Korean. That's the first thing I told him.
Arirang.
That's right. I think we started talking about like Ravel and Satie, actually. It was like the first thing that we started to talk about. And he had incredibly interesting references himself when he thought about this movie. And we both thought we wanted to feel romantic and kind of childlike. So it was great working with Emile. I honestly, the best way to work with Emile is just give him freedom, because he's a genius and he'll figure it out. And that last song you hear on the credits with Korean lyrics, I mean, he just came up with that. It's going to play in the credits, and just you wait. Is it okay? And I said, sure, go, do whatever you want. And he wrote the song, and then he had Stephanie Hong, our translator, create Korean lyrics for it. And then we had Han Ye-ri sing the lyrics. Yeah. And now, you know, it's such a beautiful song, but he just did that within a matter of days. Like he's just a genius.
Yeah. Let's talk about the cast a little bit, about the characters. I mean, you said that Steven Yeun was on board. Yoon Yo-jung, the great Korean actress, was on board. How did you find the kids? I mean, this is mostly, most of the time, the hard part, because they are new to the game of acting. So how did you find David and Anne?
Yeah, we had an incredible casting director. Her name is Julia Kim, and she has a unique talent at finding first-time actors. And she's also bilingual Korean. And these roles, the kids needed to be Korean and English speaking, and they would need to be convincing in their Korean. So that was really difficult to find. But Julia somehow, she sent out flyers to like churches, to Korean language schools that you and I were talking about before we got on here. You know, all these different places where kids gather. And she said that it got to the point where a lot of places in Koreatown thought that she was some kind of
so weirdo.
Weird.
What is going on here?
Exactly. And we were so lucky. Alan is from San Francisco, and he sent in a tape, and Noel sent in a tape from Virginia. So these are very much in opposite sides of the country. And as soon as I saw both of them, I knew they were special. But Alan in particular, like, I thought maybe he can't do it because he's too young. I was very worried about him because he was only 1 year older than my daughter. And I know that I can't direct my daughter in a feature film. But I just did a few auditions with him and brought him to LA to meet with Steven. And we did some scenes with Steven that were improvised. And Steven afterward just said, "Yo, this kid," that's how he talks. He said, I
Good
can't,
impression.
he said, "I can't lie with this kid. He's so honest." And so I knew that there was something special about him, and Steven could tell too. So with him, it was great on set. His mom was so helpful in making sure he was ready for us. And we just fed him the right juice boxes at the right time. And, yeah. Had his iPad was loaded with games because there's so much waiting time on set. So we had to figure out ways to keep him energized throughout the day.
Yeah. I mean, the performances throughout the movie from everybody were just great, in particular the whole family. And what struck me was the little details. I mean, just the food, the language, just the eye rolling from the sister, you know, and the hatto game, the card game, and with the grandma, because in Korea, I don't know why that is, but the hatto game, the card game, is played by older women, and they have to swear,
Yeah,
they have to curse.
Have to
I don't know
swear.
why this is, but it reminded me of my mother, and everything. So this is, for me as a Korean German, it was very stunning to see this life, this Korean everyday life, so authentically shown in this movie. So first of all, thanks for that.
Oh, no, that's great.
But
Thank you.
what I liked most is that the characters were not one-dimensional. Everybody had something that you loved and that you liked. And everything or everybody had something from you, I think. So you wrote the characters, and I had to remind myself that you were the kid, that you were David, because I saw you as the husband or the father.
Mhm.
So did you confuse yourself while writing? So who am I? What am I? Is this my father? Is this me? Is this my daughter? Is this David? Did this confuse you?
They're all a part of me, I feel. It's all fictional, but there's a lot of my daughter in David as well. So it's not just me, and there's a lot of me and Jacob, and even in Monica. Like she was probably the character I had the most joy writing somehow. Like I really loved writing her and thinking about her and her complexities. And with Paul, like I even see parts of myself in him, and parts that I wish I was more like, you know, just the way that he loves people. And yeah, so I found myself in a lot of them, but when we translate all that to the work of making the movie with the actors, then they take those characters and they create something new with them as well. So what you see now, you see so much of Yoon-Jung in Soon-ja. I mean, she added a lot. That's really good. Like her stealing the money from church, that's one of her things, and you know, stuff like that. She was just so brilliant at adding little things from her own life, from her own grandmother. She would add some things, and from her friends, like the moment where she eats the chestnut and offers it to Alan, that comes from a memory of hers that one of her friends did for her grandson. So all of these characters, they're like living and breathing parts of the people who made this movie.
We have to talk about the accents because
Okay.
I know that Steven Yeun has a hard time playing roles with an accent.
Yeah.
But how did you sell it to him, and how did he work on this specific accent? Because it's a specific, very authentic accent, and he has a lesser accent than his wife Monica. And was this on purpose? Did this come naturally? How did this go?
Yeah, this was a lot of work goes into the thought of this because it's kind of a sensitive issue for a lot of us in the U.S. who are Asians. Especially actors are often asked to speak in an accent when they don't have an accent, and they're asked to be a little more foreign than they actually are. So I thought that Steven would not want to do this movie. So I was quite surprised that he actually wanted to do it, and he wanted to do it and think about his own dad as he was doing it. And so he created that accent, the exact nuance of it, which was amazing because he would practice different accents with me sometimes, or he would audition different accents. Like, what do you think of this? And that was really fun.
You were like, just do an accent, any accent, I don't care.
Well, when you imitate your parents' accent, sometimes it feels like you're making fun of them.
Yeah.
And so that was the issue. Like, we didn't want to make fun of them. And we didn't want to do like the caricature Asian accent. So that was a tricky thing. And Steven felt like he wants to have a slight accent in both Korean and English because he's been in the US a little longer in this story. He's been more like Western educated, and we had a whole backstory for him where he went to college and he had to drop out because of money in the US. And then he had to go into chicken sexing. That was in an earlier cut of the film, and we kind of took that out. So that's why his accent, there's a difference between him and Monica and Soon-ja are much more Korean. Like, Monica is very Korean, but then Soon-ja is fresh from Korea. So you have the three different levels here going on.
Yeah, and you have different generations. The grandma is a real Korean grandma in the sense of she can do whatever she wants now. She's old enough.
Yeah.
And
she
doesn't
care
care anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just describe a little bit the atmosphere on set. So was there an atmosphere of family? Was this really people coming together, improvising a lot? Or was it just, okay, let's do this by book?
It was a controlled chaos most of the time. we had 25 days, and
wow.
Alan can only be on set with us working for 6 hours a day because he's a child, and he's in almost every scene. So we would try to prep, and then we just run for 6 hours very intensely, and it's a lot of instinct, a lot of swearing internally, but outwardly with the actors, I mean, they were so professional. Like, I was trying to at my best to create a place for them to feel comfortable to do anything, and so I feel like with them, they liked the fact that we were moving so quickly. Like, I think Yeti said she loved the fact that we only would do maybe 1 or 2 takes of any setup. Yeah. And when you're moving quickly, then you feel a certain like momentum when you're an actor. So I think it was also good looking back, even though like I honestly don't know how we did this. It's a miracle that we made this movie. Yeah.
It is a miracle, right? So, I mean, it's a movie about a Korean family in the US, but it's at the same time, it is a movie about just a family, and it's an American story, and it's also a story about the people of Arkansas, of country people, so-called. So, I mean, this was your home, and I think you wanted to give them some credit too, and show them the authentic, or show us the authentic Arkansas. So how did you deal with this kind of pressure? Not only representing Korea and Korean American, but also representing farmers and people from Arkansas.
I guess I just felt a desire to honor people, and not settle any scores, or not like demonize anybody. So I thought about we lived that Arkansas life on the farm. You know, we had a farm that actually failed, so our farm actually failed in the end. And I know a lot of my friends went through that experience in the 80s. It was quite tough for farmers. So just remembering that, and also knowing some of my friends are still farming now, I called them and I would talk to them about getting the farming scenes right. And, you know, the aspect of water in the film, that comes out of some conversations I had with friends about what are the most immediate concerns that you have when you're farming, and water was something that consistently was talked about. So yeah, I didn't feel pressure though. I didn't feel like, you know, people are going to be mad, or I felt pressure about my parents. That was the only, because yeah, I mean, there are things I've done when I was like 5 years old that they haven't let go of, you know, that they still say things to me about.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I can imagine. Same here. So,
Yeah.
but we'll come into the reactions later. But I'm weaving in all the questions coming in. So the questions I ask you are the questions from the audience as well. So somebody's asking about Paul and his connection to the Christian religion. And what was interesting about Paul was you feel this tension in the first minutes, or maybe a little more throughout the movie. What is this? Yeah. What kind of guy is he? Is he cool? Is he not cool?
Yeah.
And this tension is really, you know, like, ooh. And how did you come up with this character? Is this a real character that you know? And what were the decisions going into Paul's character?
Yeah, he's very much based on someone who kind of based on two different people, but mostly on one person who worked with my dad and worked on the farm. And he used to be in prison, and then he came out, and he was trying to make up for things he had done when he was younger. And he threw himself into the work of farming, into the work of the land. And he was a wonderful man. He was very Pentecostal too in his Christian beliefs, and that's something that I've experienced a lot in Arkansas. There are many different Christian perspectives and beliefs, and then also the Korean immigrant community really rallies around a church. I don't know if it's like that in Germany, but
same here.
Yeah, and the church is kind of where we have to go to Hangul, you know, we have to do the Korean school and all those things. All the kids kind of get to know each other that way. And yeah, so Christianity is just a big part of my life growing up, and it still is. It's still something that I hold to now. But I like the idea of seeing different perspectives on the Christian religion, that it's not just one monolithic faith and expression of faith or way of believing, but they're all different types of believers and non-believers. And I like to love them all, basically. I think it's kind of fun to see what makes all of them tick behind their beliefs. And that's what I wanted to do with all these characters.
There are some scenes in church. I mean, the little kid staring like this at David.
Johnny.
Why is your face so flat? And the awkward moment when they are introduced in church. And I think a lot of people in Germany are asking themselves, was there real racism like this, or how did you deal with this? Why didn't it come up like more specific, and all this kind of thing? So can you tell about this a little bit?
Yeah, it's hard to. Race is such a loaded thing. So I feel like I can't say anything to the wider, like, how does racism work in the South and all those things. But I can only speak from my own experience. And I tried to let that experience come out a little bit in the film. And it's both the good and the bad. Like, I think on the very good side of it, I actually found people in Arkansas to be quite welcoming, to the degree that I think there's a lot of stereotypes of people in Arkansas that are unfair, just as much as the stereotypes that people in Arkansas have about foreigners. There's a lot that's unfair and a lot that I experienced that was quite terrible. But I just wanted to find that balance of what I remember myself. So,
Yeah. I mean, I can only speak to for myself. I was glad that you didn't go farther in this topic, because these are this kind of moments that we experiences. I myself experiences like this staring, the what is this? What kind of hair do you have? You know, not real like overt racism, but like awkward moments, like microaggressions you call them now. But I mean, this kid is staring at David, and then they're playing together. And this was the situation like in the 80s, I think. And so, I mean, we at the end almost, so we have just 5 minutes. I want to hit you with some quick hitters from the audience, if you are ready.
Speed round.
Yeah, speed round for the last 5 minutes here. So, is the farm you grew up on still there?
It's still there. My dad sold half of it. Now there's half left. The half that he sold is the part that had the Minari on it. So that's very sad for me. But he's getting older now. We shouldn't do a speed round because I'm going to say things that my dad will be upset about. Yeah, but I think he's going to sell it soon. He's kind of getting up there in age, and it's hard for him to like take care of that land. But for him, he lives in Colorado now, but every now and then he'll go back to that farm in Arkansas to sleep in that abandoned house just because it means so much to him. So it's kind of a poetic place. And I took Steven back there during our filming, and he just said, "Whoa, you grew up in such a weird way," is what he told me. Because yeah, it's really in the middle of. I mean, it's not many people around where I grew up.
Oh, okay. So there's a question I don't get, but maybe you do. The home on wheels in Minari reminds me of the home of the family in Map of Home. Is this a coincidence?
I don't know that film.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And so are your parents are still alive, I think?
Yes.
How did they like the characters of your movie? How were the reactions? Like good, good film?
I think,
son?
yeah, it's tough. It's mixed. I think overall they're very proud. They're very glad that I now can have a job and I can work and make money. I think that's the most important
They're
thing.
happy that you succeed in something.
Yes, anything, finally.
Anything, yeah.
They love Paul. They thought Paul was portrayed so well. And YJ, they're huge fans of Yoon. But of course, with their own characters, they have many notes to give me.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what about your bigger sister? Because I mean, because David has a heart disease in the movie. Do you have a heart disease, or why did this come up? Is this just a random thing?
It's something that I dealt with as a child. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So your bigger sister, I mean, she's maybe a little disappointed because she hasn't such a big role like yourself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she can go make a movie too if she wants.
Didn't her husband like audition for the movie?
She did. He did. He auditioned for the role of the boss at the chicken hatchery.
And you turned him down.
I turned him down. But in all honesty, my sister's been the biggest supporter, and we had an amazing time together with this film. You might have seen that Q&A that we did together. That's on YouTube as well. Yeah.
And you still talk to your
we still
brother,
talk.
husband. Okay.
Yeah, he says he's gonna land something in the future. So he's got to work on it, you know.
Okay. So another question was, how much was Brad Pitt involved in the whole process of shooting the movie? Did he visit you on set?
No, he didn't. No. Yeah, he didn't visit on set. He's got a lot to do.
Yeah, Yoon Young said it on the Oscars night. So, Brad Pitt, why didn't you come on set?
But he was very sweet to us at the Oscars. He came. He really spent some time with us and talked to us about the film. And He's immensely proud of what we did, and he was so kind. He's from the Ozarks too.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, we filmed around where he was born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna look through. So, I mean, what do you think about the weird idea of the American dream, which is not really one for every person in the US? Oh, it's a big question.
Yeah, it's a big question.
Maybe too big for a
Well,
speed round.
yeah. There's an idea. It's an ideology. The American dream. It's something that some people believe in, and I'll leave it at that. I mean, some of the characters in this film believe in it. Some don't. I think in the end, in the movie, it doesn't matter. So
Yeah. So I think we have to wrap it up, unfortunately. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak about it, speak about your movie and your experiences with it. I mean, it's just a miracle in such a short time. I mean, you were filming in summer of 2019, and I was watching it in 2020 at the Berlinale screening. So it's a crazy ride, and
yeah.
I hope this crazy ride continues in Germany. And all the best for you, your family, and your movie career, and your parents.
Yeah, thank you so much. What kind of Chung are you?
Nara
Do you
Jung.
know? We're different Chungs.
Ah, okay. We have the same last name for the audience, but not the real
Yeah.
last name. Yeah, Jung.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you, Frank. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
This
thank
was
you.
great. And thank you to all the German audiences who are watching. Really glad that you are sharing this with us. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All the best to you.
All the best
Bye.
to you. Bye.